spend 5 minutes talking a little bit about social and economic mobility through the lens of workforce credentialing and adult degree completion. I did want to call out a couple of sources that I wanted to encourage everyone to take a look at in your own time. The Lumina Foundation has put together a really strong publication around learning beyond high school builds American talent. Accenture has done some really good work around the future of work and how automation will impact jobs based on their Skills to Succeed initiative. And then also the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center has a really good snapshot around the sort of some college but no degree population. And I would like to say that this population is really, really key and really fueling economic impact, particularly in the era of post-COVID-19. So I thought it was important to ground ourselves in a little bit of data before we kind of talk about our local context. And so we know that there is a stark demarcation between those that were economically insulated from job loss due to COVID-19 and those that are most vulnerable. Some people still refer this as the tale of two cities, but I think that we all have those that are either in our inner or outer circle that have been furloughed or have lost jobs due to the impact of COVID, and those that are on this panel and others who, due to your social currency, your economic equity, your professional job, that you've been insulated from the impact of COVID. And so if you kind of zoom out a little bit and kind of look at what the national rate of educational attainment is, it's about 51.3% nationally beyond high school. And so again, if we think about that, that's roughly half of our population that could be impacted by automation due to a lack of credentialing beyond high school. We have 36 million Americans today that hold some post-secondary credit and training, but have no credential. And so again, if we think about, sort of all the conversations that we're having about the needs for employers to have diverse talent slates, the need to kind of drive down poverty rates, what would happen if we even address half of that 36 million Americans who don't have the type of credentials and skills to make a larger contribution to their enterprise or a larger contribution to their household or community. And then lastly, the point is around just a Dr. General touched on this a little bit about artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, other technologies. According to a McKinsey Institute report, 45% of the time spent on activities that people do today can actually be automated. And it's believed by 2025 that number could be up to 65% of jobs that could be, or activities that could be lost by 2025. Now, on the flip side of that, there will be jobs that will be created as a result of automation. And we need to prepare and upskill and reskill people for the jobs of the future based on automation. Next slide, please. And so as we kind of zoom into our local context, it's really critical to think about some of our local complexities, our local strengths and capabilities. Hadass touched on a little bit about the strength that we have so many amazing research centers. We have some great infrastructure. We have great higher education partners. And I know all of us are trying to figure out ways to better synergize and coordinate so that we can really drive economic growth in our region. Pennsylvania's post-secondary attainment rate is 50.3%. So we're right about where the national rate is. In Philadelphia County, 37% of individuals between the age of 25 and 64 have at least an associate's degree. And in Philadelphia County, roughly only 30% hold a bachelor's degree. So again, if we're just kind of, drilling down to the lowest common denominator, we see here that a large portion of greater Philadelphians will be left behind based on automation due to a lack of credentialing beyond a high school diploma. And then the last bullet there is 22% of Philadelphians, excuse me, something just popped up, are at risk based on Accenture's Skills to Succeed report. 22% of Philadelphia's workforce are in jobs with a high potential risk of automation. Next slide, please. And so what do? You have great organizations like Graduate Philadelphia. Dr. Generals talked a little bit about the single stop model that he has on his campus. There are some other amazing institutions like Pierce College and Temple and Chestnut Hill College that are really thinking about more progressive and creative ways to help students persist and get to degree completion. And we believe that the students that have some college but no degree are really a low-hanging fruit community where if you provide just a small level of workforce investment, that will be a strong ROI where that population can quickly add to our tax base and they can help fill employer talent demands. And so the single stop model is really powerful because we know that we have a lot of students who are impacted by a lack of digital literacy, a lack of digital infrastructure at home, food insecurity, affordability, transportation, childcare. So those are the kind of services that we have seen from our data that will allow students to persist and allow a greater rate of completion among students that are enrolled in a lot of the great institutions in Philadelphia. Adult learners, based on data, are looking for affordability. They're looking for more hybrid delivery modalities. We know that a lot of colleges had to look to develop more digital capabilities in the era of COVID-19. We recognize that a lot of schools are looking at more hybrid models as we think about the fall and into the winter. They're looking at training opportunities, micro-credentials, potentially those credentials that are stackable to an associate's or a bachelor's degree. So not credentials in a vacuum, but credentials, again, that create a bridge to a longer term learning continuum. And then a bridge to living wage employment. And that's really critical that we don't think about training or credentialing or degree completion in a vacuum, but we're making sure that we're connecting that to living wage employment, or at least putting people on a pathway to living wage employment. And then lastly, which is a really, really important point that I want to just drill down on, there are tens of thousands of people in greater Philadelphia that have institutional debt between $500 and $1,500, right? These are individuals, again, who go to work every day, who roll up their sleeves, who are raising a family, and who would like to re-enroll back into a school and to complete an associate's or a bachelor's. And because of that range, $500 to $1,500 of institutional debt, that is a barrier for that student to go back to school. And so we're working on different creative ways to support students through that process so that they can re-enroll and get a post-secondary credential.